Okay, I am seeing this live on our YouTube and Facebook platforms. I will double check here. Starting to see a little bit of that internet thing that you mentioned to me earlier. So let's see if we're actually streaming for folks.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, so I do see myself now. Interesting. All right, well, we will go ahead and jump right into it. I know it's still doing some of the notifications and alerts for folks, but in an effort to stay on our schedule and timing, and while my internet is still working because I feel like there's something on my end that's trying to give out, we'll go ahead and get started with our second interview. Welcome to our broadcast today. If this is your very first time on either of our pages, we are streaming this live to you on Facebook and our YouTube channel. I want to encourage you to not only like our Facebook page, but make sure that you're following so you can get alerted when we go live in the future. It saves me that longer waiting period at the start. If you are on our YouTube channel, please make sure that you're also subscribed on our YouTube channel so you can get alerted when we post content into the future. I am Juliette Abdel. I'm the president and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and we bring to you live broadcasts to update you on things that are going on in our community, often with our city updates on a weekly basis, and even welcoming some of our newer partners to our organization. And then every now and then when we have content that's very important for us to get out there, then we leverage this platform, which is what brings us here today. So before I start moving into that topic of conversation, I want to reiterate, if you are viewing this with us, make sure that you react to this video so I know that this is streaming okay, that you can hear me and see us fine. And then I'd like for you to hit the share button on this video so others in your network can also see that we're live and can join us and can be informed voters as well in this process. So thank you so much to Parker Brown for humoring me and letting me know that you hear us. And good afternoon to you as well. So we have been hosting virtual forums, I want to say since pre-COVID. We've generally done hybrids where we've had in-person forums, candidate forums, all levels of office, or we've done them virtually. Sometimes we've done just virtual and sometimes we've just done in person. This time, because the election is right around the corner for our Hyland Hills special district, it's on Tuesday, May the 2nd, we figured we'd bring in our candidates a little bit before the election time so you have some time to familiarize yourself with who they are, past just selecting someone by name on the ballot, okay? So I want to reiterate that the process for how this came to life is as a result of our Government Affairs Committee, who is incredibly active within our organization, and they always want us to host opportunities to educate our community members and our businesses about these officials that are seeking a government position or recently elected officials. So that is why we are hosting this type of forum. Of course, what we've done in the process, because we've received so many questions after posting about this particular event and program, was pull the information from our partners over at Hyland Hills and display this on our website. If you follow the link that I've quickly flashed for you below, it's also in the chat section. There you can find more information about the ballot process, where the drop-off sites are, and the details around the actual election on Tuesday, May the 2nd. So if you're have any of those questions and wants to gain more of an understanding about what that looks like, you can follow that link and be able to access that. Now, all of the candidates that are seeking office were invited to participate in our virtual interview, okay? So we initially actually started out with 4 candidates seeking 2 seats on the Hyland Hills Board of Directors. Now we have 3 of them that are seeking the 2 seats that are out there. All 3 were invited. We did have 2 of them that did accept for this virtual interview. And I do think that that takes initiative, and it shows an interest in connecting to those in our community and allowing them to learn more about them and their qualifications. So thank you to you, Mike, for being on here with me. I'm very excited to have you.
Juliet, thank you very much for inviting me to spend some time with you and field your questions that might be of interest to the voters out there.
Absolutely. And Mike is our second interview. Our very first one was at 11 a.m. These are going to be available to you in the video section here on our Facebook and YouTube channel to rewind, rewatch, replay, reshare, and get the word out so that people are informed when they're going out to the polls, or just more aware of who those candidates are. That being said, Mike alluded to these questions that he is excited to hear about, and our candidates never have the questions ahead of time, okay? And one of the things that we are very unique about as an organization is that we do not share our questions. We don't allow for surrogates. I mean, there are a number of things that we restrict these people on, and bless their hearts for always accepting blindly and being on here with us. So the way that this works is that Mike will provide an opening statement to us, so you get an overview of what he would like for us to know, and then I will move into some rapid fire questions with him, anywhere between 5 or 6 questions that I throw his way. Then he will close out with some closing remarks or closing statements and ways that you can engage with him. Of course, if something resonates with you, or there's something that you want Mike to see later on after he's no longer live, you can always type it in the comment section. Like I did with Parker, I'll be able to see it on our end. You'll be able to see it, Mike, later on, and you can engage with those people as well. But I won't hoard up very much of the broadcast time that's left over. Instead, I want people to hear from you, and I will turn this over to you to provide us with a nice opening statement.
Okay. Well, again, I'll try to keep things simple here, Juliet. Hey, just want everyone to know that, I'd like to represent you on the board of directors for the Highland Hills Parks and Recreation District. I have over 30 years of experience in corporate accounting, internal controls, auditing, and business insurance. So you kind of think, well, he's used to working with numbers and so on, but my background actually goes deeper. I worked my way through college as an auto mechanic, so I'm used to getting my hands dirty. I can appreciate the importance of maintaining equipment, facilities, so that they're available for everybody to use. They're in good condition and they're safe. So I kind of have this, blue collar, white collar background in myself, and the blue collar is never going to get out of me, because my neighbors call me the neighborhood dad, because I'm always outside taking care of stuff in the neighborhood, around my house, and so on. So, Juliet, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you for these questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Mike. We'll go ahead and jump right into it. The first question that I'd like to share is what you believe is the role of a board of director for the Highland Hills Parks and Recreation District.
One of the things I truly believe in is, given my background, is I'd like to bring more corporate board experience and to the board, and share that with the management team and the other board members. And what I'm trying to say here is that I have worked in a couple of very successful organizations, public companies, and I've seen the positive outcome between management and the board of directors on making sure the goals of the organization, the stockholders for public companies are, their interests are watched out for, and just that collaborative approach. But at the same time is the board has to be very serious and challenge management on, financial statement results. Are they meeting service levels for their customers, in this case, the community? Are they addressing appropriate business risks? Are they looking at cyber issues and events? Internal controls. So again, I want to bring that experience I've learned from watching successful boards operate with management teams to improve an organization.
Thank you for that answer. This next question is what you believe are some areas of improvement for the Highland Hills District.
As I was getting ready to run this position, I went out and spent about an hour with Yvonne, the executive director of the district, to learn about the district, and she could learn a little bit about me. And I'm not going to be a Monday morning quarterback here on any of the past decisions and so on, but I have a lot to learn about how the operations of the district run. So it's hard for me to say what needs to be improved until I get my hands dirty and learn more. I took the time, and Yvonne and her team were nice enough to share their 2021 audit report so I could understand the financial results of the business, what their revenue sources are, their expenses, how much, I call it cash, that they have to as a safety net to cover unexpected expenses and so on. So I have a lot to learn. And so the management team will share things with me, but I've also already prepared a list of things I'd like them to share where I can provide some insight to them. So.
Mm-hmm. And do you see any challenges or issues from your perspective right now for the district? And if so, what are they?
I use the district facilities, and like I said before, I can appreciate maintaining equipment, maintaining the facilities, fresh coats of paint. And so looking at the results, I want to make sure they're spending the right amount of funds on maintaining the equipment so it's available for everyone to use. I call it client service levels. Are all the facilities available for use by the community? Are there restrictions due, like a lot of companies, are there staffing shortages where they can't get people out there to oversee the facilities? Are there equipment breakdowns where it's not available to use? So, just work with the management team that says, hey, are we putting enough dollars towards maintaining the facilities so that they're available for use?
Mm-hmm. Okay, this next question asks if you think board members or board directors should be involved outside of the boardroom in the community. And if you do, how so?
Well, like myself, and I suspect a lot of the other board members, they have jobs. Mm-hmm. So they are involved outside the community, and they get those business experiences through their jobs. And some of them may decide to do other things besides this role. Like I mentioned on the website, my little summary is I got involved in the special tax district for our neighborhood. It was run by the builder, and I stepped up and said, hey, I have the financial experience. Why don't I help the community take over the special tax district from the builder and let it be run by the homeowners like it's supposed to be? Mm-hmm. And so it just, I always believe that someone should always give back a little bit to the community, and it can be done in many different ways. So.
Absolutely. This next question is based off some of the comments that you're making regarding your experience in the financial sector and what you can bring to the table. Recently, Highland Hills released their annual report for 2022 that displayed their revenue sources from water world, the golf, taxes, and adventure golf, ice center, recreation centers, etc. Off the top, and if you were able to see that, are there additional sources of revenue or areas to diversify that you feel you can bring in, or a different perspective to some of the financial overview of the organization?
Yeah, again, as you're referencing this little pie charts here, and so it lists everything in percentages. And it's like, well, okay, percentages are nice, but let me see the dollars. So my best source of information right now is the 2021 audit report that talks about, for 2021, they had revenues of about $37.5 million. And then they're forecasting over $42 million for 2022. Again, they're coming out of the pandemic and the restrictions that were on the facilities and so on. They had in 21 positive cash flow from operating activities and property taxes in excess of $14.6 million. They had, I call it a net profit in the governmental financial statements. They call it change in net position of $11.5 million. which was a significant increase over the prior year. But again, that was the pandemic year. But one thing I noticed is in the annual report, they did a forecast of operating expenses for 2022, and they forecasted more expenses. And I'm hoping that's going to repairs and maintenance of the facilities and improving the quality of the facilities. And again, I mentioned that they have a healthy balance sheet. They have, at the end of 21, 23 million of cash in investments. So it's a very financially stable district. And again, revenue sources, when you look at the mixture, it's about 30 million from services, 7.5 million from taxes, and then some other items. The focus should be on making sure things are affordable for everybody. So if you have to bring down that service revenue a little bit so more people can participate in the facilities, maybe that's the right thing to do. So.
Thank you for that answer and providing some clarity around that. This next one is a curveball, and I even gave a curveball to the other candidate as well. So you both get equal random questions that have come up. Particularly over the last election cycle, there was a lot of comments made in the community around the issue of election being less than transparent and less than inclusive of residents in the process. What can you say to that, or to those that feel that the previous election process has been less than transparent?
Well, I'm not going to speak to the previous one, but I have to say I'm very impressed with the current one, because again, I mentioned that I use the facilities, and so I'm familiar with the district. But the nicest thing is, they did this, happy 2023 flyer and sent it out. And what caught my eye is on the other side here, it said, remember, there's a Highland Hills Board of Directors election on May 2nd. Details can be found on the Highland Hills website. Please make sure you're registered to vote. They're reaching out to the community for this election to, expand the franchise, to get as many people as possible that want to run for the position. Again, it did surprise me. There was only 4 of us that originally submitted our applications to run for the position. And then they're incurring the extra expense to do a mail-in ballot like everyone's used to seeing on the normal election cycles, whether it's the city of Westminster for the state of Colorado or on the national level and so on. So I'm quite impressed on how the district's expanding the franchise to get as many people involved in the process.
Thank you for that. Believe it or not, Mike, this always runs by so fast, and we are nearly to that time limit that I shared with you. I promised you I'd keep you only for 20 minutes or so. So I'd love to ask you if you have a way for people to engage with you, or if they are interested in finding out more about your campaign, what you represent and what you bring forward. Where can they find that information, or how can they learn more?
Sure, Juliet. There's a couple ways. One is on the Highland Hills website under Board of Directors. They have a little drop-down menu, and it lists the candidates out there for the election. And all the candidates have, I posted a bio on myself. They said limited to 200 words. So you can read a little bit about myself, my experiences, my history, and so on, how I got to where I'm at. And then also on there is listed my email account and my home phone number. Email is mikehald28@gmail.com, and then home phone number 303-759-3022.
Excellent. And I've displayed quickly the website, your phone, and your email. And now I'll ask you for if you have a closing statement or any closing remarks you'd like to make, keeping it to about a 60-second closing statement to share with folks.
Okay, well, Julia, the first thing I just want to do is thank you for the time, inviting me to your podcast here, and the time to answer your questions so that the voters can learn more about me and what I can bring to the Highland Hills Parks and Recreation District. I think one thing we need to point out to the voters is the district mailed out the ballots last week, so everybody should have received them by now in the mail. So, like any election, participation's key, and so hopefully everyone will complete those ballots check off my name and return them in the envelope that was enclosed.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for that, Mike. And for those of you that are tuned in, we very much appreciate it. Please make sure that you share this message out to others in your network as well. If you are watching this later on and we're no longer live, we still appreciate you taking the time to be educated and make those informed votes. Of course, reiterating that there are 3 candidates that are seeking office. We had 2 of them with us today, Mike and right now, and then we had Paul earlier. And I do want to reiterate that it speaks volumes when these candidates do accept our invitation and are willing to open up and share more about themselves. So I do want to thank you for being on here, Mike, and fitting us into your schedule. And for those of you that have tuned in, and I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you after the elections.
Great. Thank you, Juliet.